when you look at trades and you look at college, higher education, they're both expensive. You have to pay to go to both, right? But a lot of these students in the trade schools, right out of being certified and trained in a trade, immediately go into jobs, immediately go into careers. Whereas students that graduate with degrees typically have to go through a kind of process of getting into a career.
Gotcha.
That might be an internship or, working in a certain field, building up the experience so that they can apply for a job. That's like, we expect you to have this much experience in the field that you're going into, right? So I feel like the downside on a higher education is that you're spending 4 years to get that title, but you still have to build the skill and the experience.
I see, because higher education, I feel, even if you major in something that's kind of specific, right, it's still very general in the sense that you're not learning how to like create a specific thing for a specific company, kind of like that, where so I see what you mean, where after your 4 years, then you got to try getting like an entry level job, and that's where you start getting the actual job experience. But do you see the value in higher education in the sense like maybe the thing you want to do is something where higher education is kind of important? Maybe you want to be a scientist or some type of engineer, right?
Definitely. I feel like STEM careers, definitely there's a lot to have benefit in when you get a degree. If you're going into science or engineering or mathematics, definitely go out and get a higher education degree. But as it pertains to me, I want to go out and I want to go into a field that I knew a higher education wasn't going to guarantee a better career path. And so that's what I feel like people our age aren't realizing when they get out of high school, is they don't realize that the college degree isn't the, one degree solves all career path for your life. You see a lot of people. I was talking to a guy over at the Terrible's gas station up on Stephanie, and he was telling me about how he had like 2 psychology degrees. Wow. And the guy was working at a gas station. And I think one of the biggest reasons behind that is because he gets this psychology degree, and he's like, okay, well, time to go out and pay myself a career. But it's a lot harder with just a degree to go out and start in psychology. And he's still got to pay off these college loans because those aren't going away. Yeah. And debt catches up to him, and then he's kind of in a spot where he's like, well, I'm still expected to pay these off. So now he's prioritizing paying off the student loans for that college degree over spending the money and the resources to go and actually figure out a career path that he can implement.
Yeah, that does seem very tough about undergrad, where especially if you're going into a lot of debt, but it's also one of those jobs or it's one of those fields where you need a master's degree or even a PhD to actually get a good job in the field to pay off that debt. So it's kind of like you get stuck in this trap where I'm in $100,000 of debt from 4 years of college, and I could either, like wait and try to get a better job or more education, or I could just get like a very entry level job just to work on paying off my debt. It's like, when will you finally be free to just do the thing you actually try to do by getting that education?
And some people, Strad, they want to be able to chase security. They're told that if they go out and they join college, maybe their parents are paying for it, maybe they're getting loans, right? They'll be in an environment where they feel safe and secure by their peers. They'll go, they'll study, they'll figure something out, they'll graduate, then they'll move to a career where they're going to feel secure by their peers and by their salary, and then they live out the rest of their life kind of living in this security. But a lot of the people that are making money now are the people who are pushing past being, more than, they're not seeking being secure. They're seeking what's scaring me and what's scaring other people. Because typically what's scaring people, like especially now, the fact that we're in a recession, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are pulling money out of stocks, out of real estate, right? But the people who make money, the millionaires that are super wealthy, they're the ones that are going, everybody else is scared now. So now is my time to not be scared and to jump into this and collect, the rewards by pushing through and getting everything while it's at its lowest. So, there's that difference between people. Some people seek security, some people seek risk and fear. And I've been trying to train myself to push myself to be the one who's seeking that risk and fear. It does scare me. It is a scary thing. But if you take the college route, it can be scary too, but it's the more secure path. But what if you, instead of going to college, instead of taking out $400,000 in student loans, you went and you took a risk and you took out a loan for $400,000? You might not even have the money to pay that loan off, right? So it's risky. It's a scary thing to do. But if you go out and you successfully collect that $400,000 in that loan, and you take that and you put it into real estate, right? And you have somebody else move into that real estate property and pay off that mortgage, meanwhile also giving you a $500 positive return on your investment each month, well, now that risk just became your reward. So now you're making a positive $500 a month, while the guy over here who's paying off his $400,000 in student loans is still chucking money away at these institutions, but he still hasn't got anything back on his investment. So you kind of just got to look at the differences between those two things, because some people see the long-term run of getting that degree more beneficial, and some people see, well, if I could build wealth now by having a good debt, right? Because having a loan for real estate could be a good debt because there's potential to make money either way. I mean, you just got to figure out which path you want to take. How do you do long term and short term?
How do you balance, like, let's say you got the guy who is interested in wealth creation, right? Like, he doesn't just want to be secure. He kind of wants to have that mindset of taking the risk, right? But he also is very interested in having a career related to something that college might be necessary for. Like psychology, for example, maybe they're interested in being like a psychological researcher or some type of therapist, something like that, where a college degree is usually required, right? But at the same time, they also want to live that wealthy lifestyle. Do you think there's a way to combine both?
Definitely. I think there's definitely a way to live all sorts of lifestyles. And if you look at the majority of millionaires, they're always doing all things. They're doing all trades, and they're doing all different business ideas. And the way that they do that is they're putting their investments first over their education, right? And so by initially putting that investment first, that's going to help you with your education and your knowledge, because it's going to be teaching you something and earning you a reward, right? So if you want to go to school for psychology, if you want to get that degree and you want to build that career, definitely go out and do that. But first, take out that $400,000 loan and get you some real estate first. And then use that real estate to fund your career.
So you're saying it might be beneficial where instead of jumping right out of high school to college, maybe learn how to invest and get more financially literate, so then the risk involved in paying for a degree is less because you'll have the funds and knowledge already.
Exactly. And, and you can totally make that work. For me, because again, this whole time, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with higher education. Definitely, we need people going out there and getting these degrees and getting into these careers and working for these high-end companies and, creating a better life for us all. But what I have been realizing for me is that I want to be able to educate myself and I want to be able to become smart, but I also want to really emphasize on investing to the point where when I'm investing enough, that my money is creating enough wealth coming back to me, that I can use that money to hire the people with the education and the skills who know what they're doing, who already did the 4 years and the $400,000 in student loan debt, right? I can pay them way less, right? I'm still paying them a reasonable wage, right? And they can come in and they can take control with the skills and the education that they have over the investments and the business opportunities that I have for them, right? So I want to be the guy creating and giving people the security of a salary and the security of a job, over being the guy who goes out and spends all that time seeking that himself.